Hi everyone, welcome back to the Rangers review post-match briefing. Well, that was quite something again, as it tends to be with Rangers in Europe. Benfica 2, Rangers 2, a fantastic result, nearly a historic result in Lisbon. We've got Derek Clark here, who's been in the mix zone. We've heard from Philippe Clement as well. We'll have a brief look back at the game just now from Derek, who's been in attendance before obviously having a deeper dive tomorrow morning on the morning briefing. Derek, first things first, if you'd given Rangers 2-2 at the start of the game, they'd have definitely taken it. Slight disappointment perhaps that they weren't able to see out what would have been a really famous victory, but still contextually set up perfectly for Ibrox next week. And I don't think you'd have any complaints of what was another brilliant performance overall from Rangers on a Thursday night in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. I said earlier, Thursday nights are Rangers nights. There was another mature performance away from home. I noted at the start it was a sort of subdued atmosphere. It's a really good pre-match build-up in the stadium. There was a light show. We had the eagle flying about, and the crowd seemed to be up for it, but there was one or two misplaced passes from the home team. They were getting frustrated, and then when Rangers go up the park and score, that frustration just sort of boiled over a little bit. There's a frustration, of course, as far as Rangers are concerned about the two goals that were conceded. The first one is as harsh as they come in terms of the handball, but you knew as soon as the referee's called over to the monitor that he's going to point towards the spot. The second goal, Connor Goldson, but heading into his own net is just... It's a good free kick from Di Maria, you've got to say, but
Derek, for Colin Golden, who has missed quite a lot of headers recently, it's actually a great header. Seamus at the wrong end, but the TV footage actually didn't. It was kind of showing a replay, and the ball had gone into the back of the net by the time it caught up. So I thought, oh, it must be one where it's kind of like sort of hit off him or something. You see it again. And yeah, unfortunate one, but I digress. You can continue.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, the two Rangers goals. I know. We are talking about it from a Rangers perspective, but they were well-worked goals, weren't they? The first goal was an absolute beauty, although Tom Lawrence, we just spoke to him in the mix zone, he says that he just closed his eyes and hoped for the best. Yeah, it was a super header, brilliant cross from Diamandi. The second goal, a great response from Rangers after losing that penalty. They didn't let it get to them. Brilliant ball in from Fabio Silva, who I thought was excellent tonight over on that left-hand side. He was well up for it this evening. And Sterling nipping in at the back post for his first ever career goal, which is incredible, really. But it was brilliant. And the crowd was going bananas at that. It's just unfortunate in that second half. I thought Rangers were comfy for much of it. Benfica had much of the ball, of course, but I thought they weren't really causing Rangers too many problems, masters of their own downfall, as is often the case with Rangers conceding that own goal. But it sets it up nicely for next week. I fancy Rangers at Ibrox with that crowd behind them. I think if Rangers can get an early goal, that Benfica team crumble for me. I think the manager is under a great deal of pressure. You could tell that in the stands. That was very quiet. I was sitting next to David Edgar this evening, and I said the stadium itself is very much like the Emirates at Arsenal. Right. I think Arsenal modelled their stadium on this one.
Okay.
And it's like one of the criticisms of Arsenal when they were poor before Mikel Arteta took over and got them firing was it was like going to the opera or such like in there, and it was you could hear a pin drop. It was like that tonight. If the crowd wasn't getting on the back of the Benfica players, it was very quiet for what is such a cauldron of a stadium. But Rangers deserve a lot of credit for that as well, that keep them quiet, because I thought they were superb tonight. Didn't have a lot of the ball, which was expected, but I felt that they did their defensive jobs really well. There's a few standouts. I know we're going to hear from Philippe Clement talking about Fabio Silva. I did mention him. I thought it was terrific. I thought Ridvan had a really good game.
Yeah.
Diamandi did well. Jack Butland, of course, produced a couple of really important stops, especially in that first half. That being said, I think there was John Luncheon wasn't at his best tonight. It's fair to say he gave away the ball on a number of occasions pretty cheaply, but I think everyone can be quite satisfied with their display tonight, and it sets it up nicely for next week. All we asked is that the Rangers kept the tie alive for the return, and they've done just that. So I fancy them next week at Ibrox to go and get the job finished and make book their place into the quarterfinals, which would be a remarkable achievement given the disparity in terms of the finances available between both sides that Phil Clement touched on, of course, prior to the game. I think he did say what it would be a miracle if they'd won here this evening. But they can be very proud of their performance. And a special mention as well for Cole McKinnon coming on. I think many people would have been surprised at seeing him being brought on. When was the last time he played for it? Was it the Hearts Tynecastle game, perhaps?
In friendlies he's played, but competitive football, I couldn't say with confidence. I was trying to think, but that's the last one that springs to mind.
Yeah, so he did well when he came on. So on to Sunday now, and I think the squad, we all know it's a squad that Phil Clement is getting the most out of at this moment in time. There's a real belief in this dressing room at Rangers just now that they can go and take on anyone. I think Clement did say that when the two teams were drawn against each other in the Europa League, that there's a belief that Rangers can face anyone and give them a game, and tonight they did just that.
Yeah, absolutely. Scotty says positive performance, positive result. Denzel says a formidable effort. We did give the ball away a lot, especially Goldson, Suter and Lundstrom, harsh on such a big night, but true. Sky Willie says came close to getting a historic victory, everything still to play for. And I think that sums it up well. It's difficult to be critical at all, I think, because Rangers, they don't concede from open play. Generally, I thought they defended a lot of very difficult set plays very well. John Suter, it's a handball by the rules. The rules, I think everyone agrees, are difficult for footballers to deal with, because where do you put your arm? But the point being that Rangers defended set pieces generally pretty well, apart from when Goldson puts one into his own net. So outside of those two isolated moments, now Jack Butland was called to bail Rangers out a couple of times. That's going to happen. Outside of that, I thought was an excellent performance. And Clement, tellingly, I think when he was asked on TNT Sports at full time, and similarly in his press conference, which you can watch on the YouTube channel, he said, in effect, he was pleased with the performance, but on TNT Sports, he said he's happy, not happy because they were almost, Rangers were a goal away, an own goal away from a historic result, obviously being the first team to beat Benfica at home in the Europa League. But as you say, Derek, brilliant night contextually for Rangers, who set it up nicely at Ibrox next week. The first player you spoke about there, Fabio Silva, want to touch on him firstly. Let's hear what Philippe Clement had to say when asked about Fabio Silva in his press conference a few minutes ago.
So we talked about striker. He's growing. He's still a young player, 21. We had a lot of talks before he came to Rangers about his role or the roles he could play. So we talked about striker, playing on the left side or even around the striker, so he can do all these roles, and that he showed today. And you see that he's integrated really fast into the squad. He feels really good in the club. He plays with a smile. He gives a lot of energy to the team. He has his qualities. He's taking more and more control of his emotions. We talked a lot about that. That it's the next step to take, and I'm really happy about that today, because it was a hostile situation, a lot of attention towards him, but he played for the team, not to show everybody that he's a good player. He played to be a good player for Rangers, and that's important for me.
Fair comment, Derek, because this was a night where there was a lot of attention on Silva, and it would have been easy for him when he got the ball to try and shoot from everywhere. He was playing out of position. He had to do a lot of defensive work. I thought he was probably Rangers man of the match. Ridvan, a good shout. Butland, not far away, probably. Dujon Sterling as well, who scored that excellent goal. But probably Fabio Silva's best performance for Rangers so far. I think the criticism of him at times has been harsh. Yes, he's not been completely perfect so far, but I think he's been really good since he came to the club. You can tell he's a high-quality player. And today, playing out of position, playing on the left of a midfield four, it's not as if he was playing as a left-sided forward. He played a big role in that result for Rangers tonight, didn't he?
Yeah, he fancied it tonight. Of course, coming up against a club that he spent some time at. He got a bit of a hostile reception from the home fans, but he was good tonight. Of course, he got that assist, brilliant ball across the face. Although if you're a Benfica persuasion, you're disappointed that the ball has managed to make its way all the way through for Dujon Sterling to score. But yeah, I thought he was brilliant over on that left hand side. I would think did I? No, I predicted Ridvan Yilmaz over on that left-hand side with Barrie at left back. I got pelters for that. Show you how much I know. But yeah, I thought he was brilliant. That's the first time we've seen both him and Dessers start for Rangers, isn't it? And
yes.
I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it more often. Although in saying that, I thought that Dessers had a pretty Dessers-y sort of performance. Ball didn't really stick. He won a few balls, but in the main, it wasn't his best performance in the Rangers jersey. I thought they looked more threatening with Kemar Roof on. But yeah, Silva deserves a lot of credit. I think it remains to be seen what will happen on Sunday, what Clement will do, who will lead the line at Easter Road, or whether he'll go with the Dessers up top with Silva one side and perhaps Sterling or even Ross McCausland who came on the right hand side. May even see Cole McKinnon, of course, who came on as well. So yeah, good performance from him. We know he can play over there. He did so for PSV Eindhoven last season on loan. He's definitely not an out and out number 9. We all know that. But I think he loves assisting goals, doesn't he? He gets great joy out of providing opportunities for his teammates. So he did do so tonight, and hopefully there's more assists to come.
Yeah, you're right in saying that was a Benfica on commentary. They were saying Benfica were only missing one player, their left back, Juan Bernat. Rangers obviously were missing, I think I tweeted out after Derek, they were missing arguably 3 of the 4 attackers that they choose first in a first choice 11, maybe even 4 out of 4 in Cortez. I know he's not in the European squad, but that was a byproduct of the season so far. Sima, Campbell and Danilo. And we won't stay on too long because I know the Stadium of Light will be about to put out the lights and you're going to be on in the morning with Chris, I believe, for a more detailed look back at the game. Dujon Sterling with, I thought, another good performance. And again, it's important to remember a player who has not played in that position for the majority of his professional career. Johnny and I said on the halftime spaces, Derek, that he's not played as a striker. It's about the only position he has not played for Rangers so far. But he attacked that cross like a striker, didn't he, to put Rangers back in front. And again, it's just, I guess, important to recognise that Clement is working with limited resources. He's playing without wingers tonight. Telling, though, that both Silva was fantastic and had a hand in both goals. And on the other side, Dujon Sterling made that striker's run to make it 2-1.
Yeah, I thought he was terrific tonight, Dujon, and we spoke to him in the mix zone as well. You can hear that interview. That'll be on YouTube tomorrow, folks. He spoke really well. Of course, his first senior goal, which is quite incredible, really. But listen, I think he's been a revelation under the new manager. Who would have predicted would have seen so much of him when Clement came in? We all thought he would be a cover for James Tavernier on the right hand side, perhaps filling in on the left hand side as well. No one would have predicted him moving into midfield and performing the way he has done. He was on the right hand side, of course, tonight, but he's just an athlete. He gets up and down that park ever so well. Competed really well tonight as well. It's so difficult to nudge off the ball. He's a physical specimen. He's Rangers really getting the best out of him at this moment in time. Long may that continue. I'm sure he'll have a part to play on Sunday and is just proving very versatile at this moment in time. Wherever the manager asks him to play, he plays, and he doesn't just fill in. It doesn't just look like a player that looks like he's out of position. He's performing the role really, really well to a high standard. So, yeah. Long may it continue. The manager's obviously given him, instilled a belief in him and a confidence. He's not the only one, of course. There's many others that are now playing to their full potential because the manager is making them believe that they are capable of starting on such a stage. And Dujon can be proud of his performance tonight. I thought he was terrific.
Grant says Walter would have loved Dujon Sterling.
He would have loved Sterling.
Yeah, absolutely. Holtz getting in touch saying with a kind donation to the channel, which I know you.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Very excited about Derek. Normally, Holtz is Derek reading these comments out enthusiastically, so he can be the one responding this time around. But thank you very much.
There's a super book with my name on it.
Yeah, exactly. Steve Pirate says Yilmaz has gone from injury case to one of the first names of the team sheet. Superb turnaround from him. As we come to a close, Derek, Diomande and Yilmaz I thought were excellent. 2 players that are both 22 years old, the type of players that Rangers should be signing. It's taken Ridvan a bit of time, but he's one of Rangers' best players at the moment, or maybe just one of Rangers' best players, period. And I thought Diomande, the best compliment you could give him is he helped Rangers play out. Lindstrom can't do that in the same way. and he didn't look out of place at all in that Benfica midfield, set up the first goal. I thought it was his best performance for Rangers so far as well. Just your thoughts on those two players before we turn our attention quickly to next week.
Diamandi, who was the other one? Sorry,
Ridvan. You know that
Ridvan. I thought Ridvan was outstanding, as Raymond Clark says. I thought he was terrific. Up against Di Maria, which is a tough task at times, but I thought he stood up well. And listen, he's Rangers bona fide left back now. It's great to see him playing a regular football for Rangers now. Of course, so that was one of the things that was levelled at him when he was rumoured to be leaving in the January transfer window. I think that was the case, that we hadn't seen him properly, but he's now getting a consistent run. I think unless he suffers an injury, then he is one of the first names in the team sheet now. I think Ridvan, he's, like I touched on earlier with Silva and Sterling, he's another player that looks like he's coming out of his shell, and I think the manager deserves a lot of credit with that. It must be difficult coming from another country, another way of life in Turkey to Scotland, and living and not just playing football, but trying to adapt to the lifestyle over in Scotland. So it's taken him a little bit of time, but now we seem to be witnessing the true Ridvan and why the club brought him to the club in the first place. So fantastic performance from him. Mohamed Diamandi, I thought he was good as well. Get a bit leggy as the match wore on, but I think most players did. They were doing a lot of chasing this evening, so I'm sure he'll sleep tonight. He's another one like Sterling, who's very versatile. Can, as Clement said, when he signed him, he had chats with him, and he, one of the attractions to Mohamed Diamandi is that he can play in a number of different roles. So I thought he was good tonight, alongside, of course, that midfield of Sterling was in there, and John Lundstrom as well. Tom Lawrence as well deserves great credit, not only for his goal. I thought he was terrific tonight. But Lundstrom for me, just off the boil, but hopefully he can pick it back up for Sunday. Just looked a tad leggy, but I mean, we need to caveat that by saying Rangers were coming up against a top-tier side here this evening, but a side that look like they're struggling for confidence a little bit. They're at times taking one too many touches in the box, especially. There was a few wayward shots, so hopefully they don't pick up form by the time they come to Ibrox. Actually, the sort of murmurings in the press room after the game was that he might not even see the game at Ibrox if they get a poor result at the weekend, and his tea may be out, as the old saying goes. So he's under a bit of pressure as Roger Smith. So I think Phil Clement may have his number, but really looking forward to the game next week. I do fancy Rangers at home against this Benfica side, as I touched on earlier. If they can get an early goal, then I think Ibrox will be rocking. It will be rocking anyway, but I fancy Rangers next week to get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely right. We'll leave it there, Derek, because you will be wanting to go out and have a pint or something after all your hard work. We are going to be back, or you're going to be back in the morning to look back at the game in more detail. Loads more to discuss. We not only even got on to Tom Lawrence, the game next week, what else Philippe Clement had to say. Loads of coverage for you across the Rangers Review website. I think this comment sums it up well from Sky Billy. Disappointed that we only got a draw against Benfica. That says it all. I think that captures just how good Rangers were and just how close they were to a historic win at the Stadium of Light that sets up nicely.
That's an interesting point. Sorry, Grant, with the point. It says no empty seats at Ibrox next week. That's another thing I noticed. There was a lot of empty seats in the ground as well, which just shows you the sort of mood at this moment in time with Benfica. So I certainly think that they're gettable next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We shall see. Right, full coverage across the Rangers Review channels. We'll be live back at 9:30 tomorrow, Derek and Chris, to look at the game in more detail. Join us then. We'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.